watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know?
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kristen Watson and my channel is predominantly about motherhood, and right now I'm speaking on behalf of my husband and I with our IVF journey. So this will be my third segment. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, go ahead, please hit that subscribe button. And well, I hope it can help what you're going through if you're going through IVF as well. So where I left off on my last episode is my husband and I miraculously had our follicles grow, which the cycle before, nothing happened. So the medication didn't work for me. I'm a poor responder and I have a low ovarian reserve. So we were so happy that we had 9 follicles, and we were on our way from Canada to New York City to do our egg retrieval. So the reason that we are traveling, or we traveled to New York City, is because here in Canada, we tried naturally for a year, and then we went to a fertility clinic because I only have one tube and that was recommended to us. So I went through 2 medicated IUI cycles. They didn't work. And I had a consult with the fertility doctor about IVF, and she told me I wouldn't be a good candidate because I have such a low ovarian reserve, or an AMH, which was such a bummer because that's the last thing you want to hear when you're trying to have a baby, is that you're not a good candidate for IVF and you can't do it naturally and IUIs don't work. So my husband and I decided to contact the Fertility Institute. They have 2 locations. One is in California and one is in New York City. And because I live closer to New York City, we opted to go to New York because it's only an hour flight away from where we live now. We chose this doctor because of his incredible background. He's world renowned for the work that he does. Both of my boys were born with some issues and are being followed at Sick Kids in Toronto, the genetics team there, the Pierre-Robin team as well. So my youngest has Pierre-Robin sequence. So if you don't know what Pierre-Robin sequence is, I will put a little caption down below. But essentially, every ultrasound I had with him when I was pregnant, they missed the cleft palate. He had a cleft palate and actually a heart condition as well. And they didn't see either of those things, which was cause for concern for Trevor and myself. And my eldest Finn, at the age of 12 months, started having drop attacks where he lost mobility in half of his body when he'd be playing or walking or just about doing anything. He also lost all his speech. So he had about 15 words and those were gone when the drop attacks started. They both were found with the gene that causes a heart condition, and that came from my husband's side of the family. They didn't even know that this gene was in their family until my boys had testing done. So anyway, moving forward, the doctor in New York City, his name is Jeffrey Steinberg. He is amazing, and if you are looking to be treated by the best of the best, look up Jeffrey Steinberg. So we traveled to New York City after doing numerous phone call consults, and the nurses and him himself were absolutely amazing. And he basically told me, didn't make promises, but told me he would do everything in his power to make sure that I got the best shot at this. So after finding a fertility clinic here that I could do my blood work and my ultrasounds and get my medication, paying a fee every month, every cycle, they satellite monitored me. So they sent all my information to him every single day, and it ended up working out perfectly. So if you saw my last episode, I had 9 eggs, which compared to my cycle before, I had 2. So this was amazing. I was so excited, so happy, and all it took was Dr. Steinberg altering my medications, my stim medications. And if you're a poor responder as well and you're looking for some guidance, some help, how to make your body respond to these meds, because it's frustrating, I would suggest 100% watching my last episode, but also get in contact with a doctor that specializes in this stuff. So anyways, my husband and I traveled to New York City, and when we got there, I was so absolutely freaking out, like terrified, because obviously I've never done this before. And when we showed up, The clinic was beautiful, the nurses were welcoming, and it was obviously a little scary because when you get put under anesthetic for a procedure, it is not ideal, obviously a little bit scary, but everything went amazing. So eight eggs made it. The 9th one was just not viable. My husband and I, our plan was to stay in New York City. So my husband and I, our plan was to do a fresh embryo transfer. At the clinic I was at, they take your eggs, your follicles, they take your eggs and they send them to their lab in California, and they do genetic testing. So that was very important for us. So they sent all the eggs over there to be monitored, and they stayed in contact with Trevor and myself every day to let us know how many made it. So a lot of eggs don't make it to the blastocyst size. So I believe blastocyst is day 5. After our egg retrieval, we flew back to Canada, and we had phone calls with the nurse and with Dr. Steinberg, and the end of day 5 came. We were leaving back for New York City to do the fresh embryo transfer on day 6. And on day 5, we got the call that 4 of my eggs made it to blastocyst. Excuse me if I'm saying that wrong. And this was like the best news ever. So we were ready, roaring to go. We were heading to New York City to get my fresh embryo, and then shit went down. Let me show you a little bit. Let me show you a little bit of what happened, and then I will hop back on and get into detail because this is like straight out of a movie.
And we just sing along, and I can't help but feeling just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? Forever. 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 I watch you as you sleep. You don't know I'm looking. With you everything's complete. Do you know how much I love you? I put your favorite song.
Where I left off, we were flying back to New York for our egg retrieval. And Trevor and myself flew into New York City, and we were planning on getting there quite early and then going right to the clinic, getting it done, and then you need to be on bed rest for 24 hours. So we were gonna head right to the hotel and just chill and then fly home 2 days later. So when we arrived in New York, we checked into the hotel. I started drinking all the water because you need to have a full bladder. It helps them to get the embryo in the right spot in the uterus. Anyway, chugging water, we called an Uber. And when we got to the fertility clinic and we were so excited, we were greeted by Dr. Steinberg's colleague, another doctor, and he said, "Oh, didn't anyone call you?" And Trevor and I looked at each other, we're like, "No, we've been on an airplane. Like, of course we haven't spoke to anybody." And he said, "Your embryos are actually stuck on an airplane because of all the COVID delays." My embryos were stuck on a FedEx plane coming from California to New York City. So because of the timing, I think it was a day 6 blastocyst. So because of the timing, the embryos wouldn't get there until the next day. And then my body would be out of sync with the blastocyst. So they told me the transfer's off.
You know I'm looking, and I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on. I put my feet